during the Roman Republican period, they started out with cast bronzes. These are the large Osgravs. We've done some profiles on a lot of those before. They use these really big cast bricks as well as coins, and then they went to smaller bronzes, and eventually they went to the silver denarii. And the silver denarii actually was the first usage of the denarius and went all the way through the Roman Empire, as we all know. So this is when it was very first used during the Roman Republican period. And I didn't really want to get into imperatorial, which starts around Sextus Pompey and Julius Caesar and all that, because that's almost a whole new history right there. So this just has to do with just after the cast bronzes, just the denarii. They did some gold, but mostly not much. They did bronze, but they also did a ton of denarii because they were actually fighting in the wars. They were fighting in the wars in the Second Punic War and places like that. So they were producing a ton of silver for that reason. So if you go to the next slide, Mike, you can see the birth of the denarius here, introduced around 211 BC during the Second Punic Wars against Hannibal. It replaced those cast bronzes. As I mentioned, it was valued at 10 asses, later 16, standardized the Roman currency for centuries, which it did, influenced by Greek coinage practices. The obverse always had the helmeted Roma. The reverse had Castor and Pollux galloping, the Dioscuri, and then the early types were uniform and symbolic. And then you can see this is the very first denarius ever produced, and on the back you can see the X. That is the symbol for the 10 asses there. And then you have the Dioscuri on the reverse of the coin. And so there was no moneyers, people in authority, senators essentially, that were families that were issuing coins under their name. Okay, so if you go to the next slide, so they were kind of all unnamed at this point. It wasn't important. So what did the denarius buy you? What did it do in your daily life? So it was a full day's wage for a Roman legionary. Buy several loaves of bread, a good bottle of Flammarian wine, probably mispronouncing that, if you knew where to shop. But it was just there for everyday use.
It's not Bellinger, so I don't care.
That's right. That's right. It was also used for hoard, savings, dowries, international trade. So even what's interesting is, and it was known all over the Mediterranean as a standard, right? Okay, right. So what's interesting is CPAC, who's passing all of these rules and regulations, when they finally put coins on, it was they said Republican coins were on it unless they were out of the country over at a certain time, because the Roman Empire hadn't expanded yet. Well, here we know that they created the denarii so it could travel outside of Italy.
Created basically to be the first euro.
Right. So what a crock that CPAC would say that it didn't leave Italy, and that's why it should go back to Italy. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
These are coins. They were spread all over the place. They find them everywhere. They find Republican in Romania and Hungary. They find them everywhere. Is that Italy? I don't think so. So anyway, I just think that it's the hypocrisy of it all. So anyway, if you go to the next slide, so around 141, they went from 10 to 16 asses in weight, and you have the different number scales on the back to show the weight standards, how they changed. And so you can see behind the heads on each one of these what those symbols actually distinguished and were used at the time. And so they were basically getting rid of bronze altogether by doing this, by really devaluing the bronze through silver. So if you go to the next slide, we have the rise of the moneyers, right? So around 139, somewhere in that range, moneyers' names start to appear on the coins. The political messages via coin designs, coin features of the family myths, military victories, their histories, legacy and ambition and circulation, examples of striking iconography on the reverse. And so here you have, just to break down this one coin, you have the bust of Juno wearing a goatskin headdress on the obverse of this coin, accompanied by the legend ISMR, standing for Juno, the Savior, Mother, Queen. And then Juno was especially revered in Lanuvium, the moneyer's ancestral home, as protector of marriage and childbirth. And the reverse, you have a charging bull, which is a powerful dynamic image, and the image function as a family badge and a pun on the moneyer's name, which was Taurus, which is Latin for bull. And so here you can see the name right below the bull running there. And so all of these families started to issue coins with the symbolism of where they lived, their histories of what their ancestors did, and going beyond. And so it's very cool how it goes.